Welcome to The Deep Dive. We sift through fascinating sources to bring you the core insights, helping you get, well, truly informed fast. Today, we're diving into Percival Everett's incredible novel, James. And this isn't just, another take on a classic American story. It's this really brilliant, unflinching look at identity, language, the brutal truth of slavery, all from a perspective that feels completely fresh. Deeply personal.
Right. And what's amazing about this book and what we really want to get into in this deep dive is how just it throws out your assumptions right away. It shows you how real intelligence, deep insight, even radical self-definition can exist and even thrive under the most awful, dehumanizing conditions, often hidden right there in plain sight. We're going to unpack how this novel really challenges what you thought you knew about a familiar story and maybe more importantly, what that means for how we understand history and humanity itself.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that central idea first. This figure. Many people know him as Jim from Mark Twain. But in Everett's novel, he's privately James, a man who is highly intelligent, secretly literate. The book just throws you straight into that contrast, that duality.
It does, and it's fascinating how quickly you're pulled into his secret world. You see him, outwardly playing the part of the ignorant, superstitious slave. Like, he hears Huck and Tom saying these awful racist things, like Tom saying, Thunder can't even wake a sleeping nigger.
Yeah.
And James just performs exactly what they expect.
Right, he plays the role.
But then you see this calculated brilliance underneath, like his situational translations lessons he gives the children, January, Rachel, Lizzie, and the others. He's teaching them, really young children, how to speak to white people in a way that disarms them, deceives them. So imagine the kitchen's on fire. Yeah. Little 5-year-old Rachel knows exactly how to translate that panic into Lottie, miss him, looky there, or how to ask for sand for a grease fire without actually correcting the mistress who doesn't know what to do. It's like, oh, Lord, missums, ma'am, you remember me to get some sand. He literally tells them, the more they choose to not want to listen, the more we can say to one another around them.
That level of planning, that deception, it's chilling when you think about the necessity behind it. And then there's his belief system, which seems to shift depending on who he's talking to. With the children, he's very direct. There is no God, child.
Yeah.
There's religion, but there's no God of theirs. Their religion promises us rewards later, but nothing about their punishment, he says. But then, talking to Huck, he changes his tune, confirms he believes in God. Why? Because, as he puts it, white folks watch us work and forget how long we're left alone in our heads. It's another performance. So, thinking about all this secrecy, what's the actual danger, the big risk of a slave being illiterate in this world? Beyond just, getting caught reading.
That's such a critical question. Because literacy for someone enslaved wasn't just about knowledge, it was. It was a mortal threat. It fundamentally challenged the entire system built on dehumanization. And the book shows this so starkly. James learns this horrifying story from Easter, another blacksmith. Easter tells him about a free black man who was lynched. Why? For supposedly stealing a damn pencil.
A pencil.
Yeah. And Easter asks James, what's a slave need a pencil for? It just hammers home the incredible lethal risk James is taking just by having that pencil, by writing in his notebook. His literacy isn't just reading words. It's this radical act of defining himself, of claiming his humanity in a world built to deny it completely.
And beyond that daily survival, the constant performance, what really stood out to me was James's internal life. It's incredibly rich, so much so that he's having these philosophical debates in his head, right?
Wow.
These fever dreams with figures like Voltaire, John Locke.
Right. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it just shows this profound level of intellectual engagement, this critical thinking.
Yeah.
Despite being completely denied any formal education.
Yeah.
Take Voltaire. James is internally critiquing Voltaire's ideas, especially that awful assertion that climate and geography lead to biological differences that stop Africans from achieving the perfect human form found in Europe. And James's response in his head is just this biting, simple, is that right?
Yeah.
He mulls over Voltaire's, let's say, complicated views on liberty.
Yeah, that internal defiance.
Yeah.
You really feel it.
Absolutely. And then he confronts John Locke, calls him out on the hypocrisy of writing constitutions for Barbados, for Carolina, that actually justified slavery. Even though Locke wrote all this stuff about natural rights, James challenges him directly, like, what you're saying is that if someone pays you enough, it's okay to abandon what you have claimed to understand as moral and right.
Wow, that's direct.
It is. And then James makes this powerful claim, really cutting to the heart of it. If I am in a war, then I have the right to fight back. That follows, doesn't it? I have a right, perhaps a duty, to kill my enemy.
So for us listening, What's the takeaway here? It feels like a stark reminder that these big historical ideas, even the ones supposedly about freedom, were twisted, weaponized, really, to justify just unbelievable cruelty. It kind of strips away any notion that these philosophies were purely about enlightenment, doesn't it?
Exactly. It forces you, the listener, to confront that uncomfortable history, the intellectual dishonesty and how it literally shaped lives and systems.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, but still on this theme of performance and reality, one of the most striking parts, and honestly pretty disturbing, is James's time with Daniel Decatur Emmett and the Virginia Minstrels. Emmett supposedly hires James as the tenor for $200, claims he's against slavery.
Right, but he still treats James entirely as property.
Exactly. He expects James to work off this debt by performing. But from James's view, it's clear this isn't a hiring. Emmett has a bill of sale. It describes James as a slave. It's a transaction of ownership, plain and simple.
And the performance itself. It's just this chilling mix of absurdity and total dehumanization.
James describes the scene. 10 white men in blackface, one black man passing for white and painted black, and me, a light brown black man painted black in such a way as to appear like a white man trying to pass for black.
It's layers upon layers of messed up performance.
Completely.
Yeah.
And he sees this double irony when they perform songs like Jimmy Crack Corn or Jump Jim Crow. He even notes they do the cakewalk. And he thinks, yes, but they don't get that. It's lost on them. It's never occurred to them that we might find them mockable.
So this isn't just about putting on a show. It's this incredibly deep commentary on performance, identity, power, all under extreme oppression. How does James even navigate that? How does he keep his sense of self intact?
Yeah.
Well, he uses it, purely strategically. It's a means to an end for him. His internal thoughts, which we get access to, show his complete contempt for it all, his sharp analysis. He knows Emmett's songs are, quote, music for idiots. But he finds a kind of grim power in doing it because there's a bigger goal. He's always calculating, figuring out if the money from these shows can help him buy his family's freedom. So, outwardly, he keeps up the slave speak with Emmett and the others. But inside, you hear his real voice, his disdain. He's fooling them all.
And that brings us to his core motivation, doesn't it? The thing that drives him through everything. His family, his wife, Sadie, and his daughter, Lizzie. His absolute determination to escape being sold downriver by Miss Watson. And then his relentless effort to free them.
You really feel the weight of that quest.
Yeah.
His escape first to Jackson Island, where he runs into Huck, who's faking his own death. That's a whole other story. And then later he meets Norman, a black man who can pass for white. And they come up with this incredibly risky, deeply ironic plan. Norman will pretend to be James's owner and sell him. Yeah, to raise money so James can then try to buy Sadie and Lizzie.
Yeah.
Norman literally has to play the role of master. The sacrifices are just immense. Think about that story of Sammy, the 15-year-old girl, enslaved, being horribly abused by Henderson. James makes this gut-wrenching choice to rescue her. He sees his own daughter, Lizzie, in her. He has to try. But then during the escape, she's tragically shot and killed.
Oh, no.
And James's words, they're just devastating. He says, she's just now died again, but this time she died free. And you see them, James and the others, just scratching a hole in the ground with their bare hands to bury her. It's heartbreaking.
That whole journey, it's filled with these impossible moments. It just underscores the unbelievable strength, the courage needed to even try for freedom in that system. It wasn't just about running away, was it? It was active resistance.
It was about becoming, moving from being seen as property to asserting personhood.
Right. And James isn't just running, he's actively fighting back. You see this rage building in him, and it reshapes who he is.
Yes, this is such a critical turning point, where the shift from Jim the persona to James's person becomes really undeniable and even violent. Yeah. Think about the killing of Overseer Hopkins, the man who raped Katie. James strangles him. And his internal monologue then is so revealing. He thinks, it's not your fear, it's the fact that I don't really care at that moment. It feels like he's rejecting apathy completely, claiming his agency, his right to act, stepping way outside what a slave is supposed to feel or do.
It's a terrifying assertion of self.
It is. And then later, confronting Judge Thatcher, his former owner, he holds Thatcher at gunpoint, forces him to row a boat, making him feel, just for a moment, what it's like to be powerless, to be treated like a tool, like a slave. And James just demolishes Thatcher's self-image of being a good master. He says, no matter how gentle you were when you applied the whip, no matter how much compassion you showed when you raped, just lays it bare.
Tearing down that whole facade.
Exactly. And then it culminates in the liberation at the Graham farm. This daring plan, setting a cornfield on fire as a diversion, not just to free Sadie and Lizzie, but all the enslaved people there. He confronts this old white man who's pointing a shotgun at him, and James, He introduces himself. He says, I am the angel of death, come to offer sweet justice in the night. I am James.
Chilling. Which brings us right back to that notebook and the pencil. His self-authorship, literally writing himself into existence.
It's the ultimate act of claiming himself, isn't it? It starts internally, maybe as James Golightly, not just James. And he finally writes that powerful line, my name became my own. He wrote himself into being. He chose his identity over the one forced upon him. He writes in that notebook something like, I am called Jim. I have yet to choose a name. I will not let this condition define me. I will be outraged. But my interest is in how these marks on this page can mean anything. If they can have meaning, then life can have meaning. Then I could have meaning. That act of writing, in secret, with that risky pencil, that's the quiet, profound assertion of his own existence.
So this deep dive into James, it really shows how these familiar stories can hold such incredible, untold depths. It challenges you, the listener, to look past the surface, doesn't it? To listen for those silent narratives, those inner lives that defy everything, trying to crush them.
It really does. It makes you think hard about knowledge, self-definition, even about rage.
Yeah.
How they can be tools for survival, tools for liberation. The novel itself, just by existing, feels like an act of reclaiming history, just like James reclaims himself through his writing and his actions.
And maybe the big question it leaves you with is this. If James, a man denied almost everything, could find his voice, could define his own truth, what narratives are we accepting in our own lives? Or what narratives are we challenging? What does it really mean to be free? Not just physically, but free in your own mind.
Yeah. And the acknowledgments in the book, they have this provocative line about the original Mark Twain connection. Heaven for the climate. Hell for my long-awaited lunch with Mark Twain. It leaves you with that powerful idea, I think, that real understanding often comes from facing uncomfortable truths. And sometimes the deepest insights, the most important stories, are hidden in the margins, written in secret, with a borrowed pencil.